Here is why your prayer didn't work. Introduction. When you have prayed and didn't get what you were expecting, you always wonder what went wrong. Sometimes you look for something to blame, such as a bad deed from you, an error on your part, a previous sin from your parents, a previous action from you, a previous bad encounter, etc. Sometimes you try to blame yourself. Maybe you prayed at the wrong times. Maybe you prayed in the wrong place. Maybe you prayed for the wrong thing. Maybe you prayed the wrong number of times. Fewer times than you should have prayed, or more times than was necessary. Maybe you used the wrong words. Maybe you were entertaining dirty thoughts while you were praying. Jesus' instructions on prayer. If you closely follow the Bible's instructions, your prayer will be answered. If you don't clearly follow the Bible's instructions, your prayer will not be answered, and it will be your fault. The Bible is very clear. Ask and you will receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And to the one who knocks, the door will be opened. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer. No condition is given. What is prayer? What is a prayer? Prayer is a personal communication with God. You must believe that there is a God who is listening to you and will honor your request. The communication is one way. Only you speak. If you start hearing voices, maybe it's time you have your head checked by a specialist. You have to wait. Prayer as an employment application. You are not the only one praying, and you are not the only person praying for the same problem. Like an employment application, just one right word can produce a positive result. Just one wrong word can cost you the job. If there is only one job, and many Christians are applying for it, and all of them are praying, God must choose the right candidate who use the right words of praise. So you must be careful and attentive. Before praying, make sure you check and fulfill all the conditions and requirements. Have you been going to church every Saturday or Sunday? Have you been paying your tithes? You must seek God deeply in your heart. Make sure you are at peace with your brothers and sisters. Give money to the homeless and poor people in the streets. How do you treat people at your workplace? How is your relationship with your neighbors, your church? Did you have an abortion in the past, or did you encourage anybody to have an abortion? Have you been lusting after women or men lately? How have you been treating your family members, such as your wife, husband, children, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, etc.? If you fail on any of these conditions, God will not listen to your prayer. You are doing something wrong, and it's your fault. God answers all prayers. You will know that God answered your prayer when you see the results. God is invisible, so you have to guess, believe, and hope that God heard your prayer. A prayer has 3 types of answers: yes, no, and wait. You must pray sincerely. If you are not sincere, God knows it and He will not reward you. You must pray in the Spirit. You must pray in tongues. You must use the right words. You must go to church every Saturday or Sunday. A positive result for a prayer. A positive answer shows that God listened to you when God gives you exactly what you prayed for. For example, you applied for a job, prayed, and got it. You wanted to get pregnant and got pregnant. If you later lose your pregnancy, it's not God's fault, since He had answered your specific prayer. You prayed to score a penalty and you succeeded. You had cancer and the cancer went away. You wanted to pass a school exam and you succeeded. A negative result for a prayer. The result of a prayer is negative if you didn't get what you wanted. You applied for a job and prayed, but the company notified you that they selected another candidate. You wanted to get pregnant and your husband died all of a sudden. If you continue with another candidate, you wanted to score a penalty, but you missed. You have cancer and keep praying. The doctors notify you that they have tried everything, but based on past experiences, they believe that you have 1 day left to live. You wanted to pass a school exam, but you failed. An uncertain answer to prayer. A maybe answer is one that did not have a deadline, such as passing your school exam last week to be admitted to that great school, paying your rent at the end of this month, getting a visa to move to a better country, etc. So it has not yet been answered, but you guess God is still working on the issue. Since prayer is a one-way communication, there is no way to get an update unless you ask God to give you a hint. Maybe you are continuously playing the lottery and hope that God will give you the right combination one of these days. Maybe you are sleeping with different men while praying to God and expecting that one of them will get you pregnant. Maybe you are applying to different jobs, or visas to different countries, or scholarships to different universities, or a business loan to different banks, etc. And hope that one of them will be the right one that God has controlled for you. So you have to wait. Prayer and physical positions. If you prayed laying down on your bed and the prayer was not answered, God doesn't like people who pray while laying down. If you were sitting on your bed while praying, you should have gotten on your knees, because God needs to know that you are completely relying on Him in adoration. If you were standing up while praying, you should have sat on a chair and joined your hands to show God that your spirit is in unison. If there is no table, you must find one. Prayer and the right words. You must know what you need and you must state that thing or those things in your prayer. To indicate that you really need something, you must pray for the same thing many times. That will show God how serious you are. You must pray for the same thing in the morning, at noon, in the evening, and before going to bed. God will hear your prayer. Don't repeat the same thing over and over again, because God doesn't like repetitions. Prayer and persistence. You should pray at the right time. Pray all the time. When you have a certain problem, pray all the time for the same problem, until the problem is solved. Pray when you wake up, when you leave your house for a job interview or for work, during the day, when you leave work, when you get home, when you go to sleep. The more you pray about the same problem, the more you will show to God how important it is. Pray many times. You may catch God at the time He is not distracted. Because God is half deaf, if you pray many times for the same problem, you may be lucky that God will hear one of your prayers when His ears are working. Because apparently God is sleeping sometimes, and you don't know His schedule, if you pray many times for the same problem, you increase the likelihood that one of your prayers will reach Him when He is awake. God has a short memory, so you have to keep reminding Him that you are still waiting. God needs to know that you are remembering Him all the time. God must be the center of your attention. God must be the center of your attention. Pray every time you eat. If you forget to pray before eating, you will get an indigestion, food poisoning, diarrhea, bloating, etc. Whatever God will feel the need to do to show how important He is. Praying for the right thing. If you prayed for only one thing, you probably prayed for the wrong thing, because God knows what is good for you. And you must ask for the thing that God knows is good for you. If you had asked for something else, that's why God did not honor your request. If you have many requests, that is, if you prayed for many things, God cannot address many issues at the same time because you are not the only person requesting things. That's why your prayer was not answered. Prayer is about the right words. If you prayed only in your heart, if you prayed silently, how did you want God to hear you? If you prayed aloud or with your mouth open, you were tempting God to think that God can't read what is in your heart. That's a grave sin. Your prayer will not be answered. If you were praying in your car and your prayer was not answered, you should have stopped the car first. That's why your prayer failed. If you prayed when you found out that you had a problem, God could not answer because you were remembering God only when you have a problem. You are supposed to pray all the time, even when there is no problem. If you prayed only for your particular problem, the prayer was not answered because you showed God that you don't care about others. God can't stand selfish people, and He never honors their prayers. Prayer and the Lord's Prayer. Did you end your prayer with the Lord's Prayer? If no, that's why your prayer was not answered. You must always end your prayer with the Lord's Prayer. That will show that you honor Jesus Christ. If yes, you were not supposed to include the Lord's Prayer, because that prayer is only a highlight of what you should follow. If you end your prayer with the Lord's Prayer, you are only showing that you only memorized it instead of praying sincerely with your own words. Don't know? You should always start your prayer with the Lord's Prayer. End your prayer with the Lord's Prayer. Wholeheartedly follow the model of the Lord's Prayer. The truth is, if your prayer is not answered, there is something wrong you did. If your prayer is not answered, there is something wrong you did or said during your prayer. Seriously, it's your fault. Always. Think.